Welcome back, English rugby fans. Well, another weekend's over and England are out of the Grand Slam title race and Wales are firmly in the driving seat here. 21-13 at the Principality Stadium. Well, we call it the Millennium Stadium really because we're a bit nostalgic, aren't we, Shakespeare? So what did you think of that?
Yeah, this is definitely a sadder weekend to discuss the rugby as an England fan. After such a bright start, especially being able to do that in Dublin, I expected a different kind of performance. And, it's a shame, but at the same time, if there's anyone that's going to ruin the English rugby fans' party, it's going to be the Welsh.
Yeah, I mean, Wales, every time England play against Wales, I'm always very nervous because it's usually 50-50. To be honest. Doesn't matter who's on the better form. Wales always turn up against England and they pretty much beat us at our own game, to be honest. They kicked a lot more sensibly. We made a lot more mistakes and it was a game of two halves. The first half we really dominated and the second one they just really blew us out of the water, to be honest. Do you think that sounds about right?
Yeah, I think especially with the hype coming up to the game, the whole talk of what it's like for the team to go to Cardiff, to go to the Millennium Stadium, to really play in that atmosphere where all the fans are getting in your face. I think it got to a couple of the players, and you could visibly tell some of them were shook. It's obvious. We're going to discuss the discipline of Sinclair and if he should have really been pulled off. Because to give away the
Mm.
successive penalties that let them get up to 9 points when they really didn't even deserve to be there in the first place. I just think it was a tale of two halves, and uh, playing in the Millennium Stadium's never easy. So
No, so let's have a quick look at the stats here. So possession, 65% Wales, 35% England. Territory, 68% Wales, 32% England. I mean, that really says it all. From the last games, England have been very confident in their defence and in kicking away possession, but they've sacrificed the possession in return for territory, and that just wasn't present really. I think one of the key bits is that actually in Wales, for the first time, they saw an established back three that they were kicking against. And Liam Williams is just world class. To be honest with you, his counter attacking is amazing, and England's kicking was really poor. If we look at the kicks from hand, Wales 34, England 33. So actually, Wales were kicking a lot more, and I think a lot more sensibly, really, and intelligently. Does that make? I mean, would you agree with that?
yeah, I completely agree with that. I'd mentioned in a previous episode that while we were playing well, was very dependent on the kicking, and if your kicking game isn't on point, and I don't see what the strategy was different between the previous games and now. For some reason, we completely targeted the right wing with Noel on that side, and if that was to avoid some players or such, and I felt like all the box kicks and all the kicks from Farrell were very central. They never really went too much to the wing. It was always a little bit, couple yards too far in the middle. But I guess that's what he was
Mm.
referring to when he was talking about finding that space. And as soon as a team finds out how to shut down those kicks with a world class back three that they had, it's a tricky luck based kind of, I find, system, or not luck based, but very very technical.
I think what it reminded me of really was watching England play prior to Eddie Jones for about 4 or 5 years after the World Cup,
Mm.
where I mean, the kicking game, yeah, the kicking game can be the best game in the world, which is what we've seen in the last two games for England, or it can be the worst game in the world, which is what we've seen historically for England and specifically in this game. If you kick, you have to damn well make sure that you're hitting it in the right spots and pushing the opposition into their 22. You can't kick straight down their throats and let them counter attack. You can't kick and not have the chase or overkick it. The sort of the kickoffs as well themselves were very poor compared to what they were in the last two games. They were way too deep with no real pressure. And as you said, I think, and Gus got really picked up on this as well, is that England, whenever it wasn't on for them, which was the vast majority of the game, unfortunately, they just kicked it and then just hoped that Wales would screw it up, basically. So if we look at passes, Wales 162 to England's 103, and runs 167 Wales, 98 England. Obviously, England had a lot less possession, so that's to be expected. But at the same time, I don't think England went through the phases, or if they did, the Welsh defence really just shut them down, and then they said, "Ah, screw it, let's just kick it down the field and hope that somebody knocks it on or that the bounce is right." And to add to that, for me, really, the kick percent success, Wales 80%, England 75%. So not too much in it, but I think it is fine margin. Something I've noticed is the Iceman Farrell. He very rarely misses a kick, but this tournament I think has been actually his worst in terms of kicking and getting the points. And we saw Daly miss one, I believe, earlier on as well in the match. And I think
Yeah,
that I don't
set the
know. I
tone.
think that threw us off. Yeah. Having said that, obviously, the first try by Curry was very opportunistic. It was very not lucky, but it was very much a winner's try, let's say. And England went into the changing rooms at half time, the winners, and very much so. They deserved it. But then the second half, Wales just continued to go up in the gears, which we know they do in the last 20, 30 minutes of a game. And England just sort of fell by the wayside and let them dictate the tempo.
Yeah, I think I don't want to take away from how well the Welsh played, but England did sort of have the wind taken out of their sails after the game was put out of an immediate try kind of distance, and especially to lose that bonus point. You could tell. I knew the moment we were gonna lose was when Farrell kicked that ball right out, and you could see in his eye afterwards, in his face, he just looked. His head was down. The team wasn't really chatting. Even when he talked to the referee about Sinclair, he didn't. There wasn't that same sort of fire and unity. But what I really have liked to see after the game, during the game, is how much they were talking. The fact that they stayed in a huddle in half time, and even then, because it shows that they're in a mental place where they're preparing for this. I think the mindset is right, but it got too much to them, and it's good to keep our feet on the ground because we don't want to go into the World Cup thinking we're the world best because we're nowhere close to it yet, and even considering what the hell's going to happen with Tuilagi. Like, I don't even know, man.
Yeah, with racing and whether he leaves, yeah.
It's not been a good week to be an England fan, let's just say that much.
I mean, I sort of agree and disagree with you with what you said there. As you said, at the end of the first half, England stayed out in the Millennium Stadium getting booed and chanted and whistled by thousands upon thousands of Welsh fans who absolutely hate England. And that was really like promising to see. Just England sitting out there, taking their time, talking to each other in a big huddle, saying, "Come on, boys, let's smash it." In the second half, we've done really well. And then in the second half, from minute 50 onwards, we started really well. But then from the 50th minute onwards, we just completely dropped out, and no one was talking. Everyone's heads were down. No one was sort of encouraging each other. And then I think Sinclair really. Gatland said that they wouldn't target him, but it was clear. Alan Wynne-Jones.
Alan Wynne-Jones.
As much as it pains.
What a beast.
I mean, as much as it pains for me to say it, he played really well in the sense that he got driven back a few times. He's not the best ball carrier. He has really high work rate.
How many mauls
his leadership
did he
skills.
How many mauls? Like he 3 or 4.
I know he's a maul specialist, isn't he? He holds you up and he doesn't let you get out. The thing is, he has that incredible amount of experience, behind him, and he knows how to speak to the ref and how to speak to his team, and he was loving it. You could see when he was grabbing Sinclair and getting in Farrell's face. He was just trying to rile up in England, and it was a shame not to see England, not lashing back, but, stepping up to the challenge. 3 penalties to 9 penalties. You don't step up to the plate by just giving away stupid penalties, because that's exactly what England did. And that reminded me a lot of England last year. Just really poor discipline, but not poor discipline out of passion, poor discipline out of, I don't know, a lack of professionalism, a lack of intelligence. It almost seemed they just fell by the wayside. And I think when you're missing, obviously we don't want to make excuses, but when you're missing players like Mako, and Marrow, who in the pack just make those incredible tackles and are always talking, and every player looks up to. I don't know, it seemed evident, but yeah, as much as it pains for me to say it, Wales played really well. They knew exactly what they were doing, and they went up in gear slowly and surely as the game progressed, and they dictated it completely, and England were just left scratching their heads, really.
I'm just glad to get this kind of wake-up call, because even in the second game, it just showed we can't rely too much on kicking. There's got to be more. So I'm glad we realise this now. Then in quarter final, I don't want to jump ahead. Let's see if we can get out of the group stages. But Yeah, let's move on to the other games because there's been some interesting rugby. Of course, why don't we start with the first game of the weekend with France and Scotland? So 27-10 final score to France, and wow, first
Mm.
victory. So Socrates, what do you have to say about
I mean, it's great to see France win a game, and I mean, Scotland, it's always the same for me. Scotland always look really promising, and they were missing two key players in Hogg
that?
and
Yep,
Russell,
yep.
unfortunately. They're both incredibly like creative, gifted players who can turn a game on its head. And I feel like, their absence was really noted and felt by Scotland. Scotland did exactly the same as they did in the Ireland game, where there was loads of hype, loads of promise based on last year's performances by them, and then suddenly they just kept on making stupid errors where they knocked it on several times in unforced errors. And France, I don't know, France didn't look exceptional, but France just did enough to see out Scotland, and Scotland really didn't sort of step up and take it to the French. What did you think of that?
Yeah, considering this is a France team that a couple weeks ago lost 40, what was it, 48 8 or 45 8 or something.
I
It,
thought
it,
I think it was 40 or 44-8. I can't
the
remember.
turnaround, you got to give it to France. That it must have taken a lot, and they must have been ridiculed for I don't know how long now. Considering that how the first two games have gone for them, they've got the quality to be one of the best teams in the world, as you always hear in pod rugby podcast, of course. And the talent that they have, because of course they have one of the biggest talent pools. They have the best league. It's just about the federation getting that unity together and really focusing on the talent that's coming through, not over relying on foreign players. So
Mm.
it's of
I
course
mean,
typical Scotland tale, as you say.
yeah. I mean, between the two, what was it? Possession 51 France, 49 Scotland, 52 territory France, 48 Scotland. So very even. But then meters run, France 428, Scotland 314. Despite that, Scotland scored two tries, France scored one try, and then they just, Camille Lopez, I think he hit five penalties or something like that. So France played like a much more professional team against
Yeah.
Scotland than we've seen previously. And they nearly did beat Wales as well. So France at home can rock up, and it's good to see France do that because when you're losing at Twickenham by such a big margin, it can be embarrassing as a Frenchman, but great as an Englishman. So it's good to see France playing well, but it's a shame that Scotland weren't able to really push them.
Also, let's not give a shout out. We can't forget to not give a shout out to that try created by Bastero's chip, where he chased it to himself. The big man showing all the skills and shutting up all the critics.
I know.
There you go. What a try. You would
You see
never have
this,
seen it
this
coming. Even the
you,
Scots.
you see this you see this massive bloke who looks like a prop in the centre position with dreadlocks just do a little dainty chip, and it's just unbelievable. That's say what you want about Bastero, he's never there's never a dull moment watching him play. So yeah, that was pretty funny, and the disallowed try as well. Actually, that was a real shame for France. That could have been amazing.
Yeah, that
But
would have
yeah,
been one of the
a
trial
great game to
tournaments.
watch.
Well, yeah.
Mm. So, and then today's game, so Sunday's game, Italy versus Ireland. Italy 16, Ireland 26. Ireland got the bonus point. I didn't watch the full game. So, what were your thoughts on it? Because I know you watched it all, Shakespeare.
Yeah, it was better than I'd expected from Italy. They really got unlucky. You knew Ireland were gonna just keep grinding and they did the same thing the whole way through the game. It was a very uninspiring Ireland. Of course, they had I think two or three real breaks where Keith Earls looked really good, and of course Stockdale looked really good as well. So their wings are always really
Mm.
impressive cutting through, but it's an Italian defense, sloppy a little bit after 80 minutes of defending. So it's to be expected, but yeah, they never just clicked into second or third gear. And as like the commentator said, after Murray scored the bonus point try, there was no celebration from Ireland, no anything. They know this was a very uninspiring victory on their end, and Italy really almost took the game from them. But of course, Italy, similar to Scotland's situation, they'll always there'll always be one or two moments in a game, especially if you're playing in Rome, where you think, oh, maybe the Italians will actually win, but
Mm.
there's always one or two moments where it enters your mind where they might be in front or they're 3 points behind. But in the end, I think it's 20 games now, 21 games now that they've lost in a row in the Six Nations.
In the Six Nations, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a shame they beat Georgia, so they got one win at least. That wasn't an official Six Nations match or anything like that, but a lot of people saw it as maybe raising a big question mark if Italy lost against Georgia, whether Georgia should replace them or be added to the league. But I think something does have to happen to the Six Nations, because you can't have Italy just consistently getting the wooden spoon every year and hoping to get 1 or 2 points. I mean, the fact that they went for 3 points at the end to get that bonus point in terms of losing by 7 point margin. I mean, that says a lot to me, because if you're just going for a losing bonus point, obviously if the coach's objective is to get at least 1 or 2 points for the whole league, that's very sad. And I don't think they're going to improve as a side. But they do have some good players, and their scrum was good. It was really strange not to see Parise starting.
Yeah.
Is he injured?
I think he's injured. You saw him occasionally looking like a bit like a petulant teenager
Yeah.
off on the side with his hoodie up, looking kind of glums. But,
Looking pouting for the photographers, yeah.
but yeah,
But I mean, Italy. It's strange because you see a lot of players who don't have Italian surnames joining the ranks, and that started about 4 or 5 years ago. And I think they've brought a lot of quality, but the fact that their league, well, the league that they're in, they've only got two teams, I think, that represent Italy, and it's a lot of their players are scattered throughout these other countries, so they've got the same sort of problems in the sense that they're underfunded and they've got a lot of their talent pool elsewhere. Just like the Pacific Isles. So I think Italy's always going to have a problem until they manage to really build their two teams and make it more attractive to retain talent. But yeah, Ireland. I think since the England game, Ireland have been a little bit shocked by that, and they have to find their mojo really before the Wales game, because as an England fan, we want to see Ireland beat Wales. Otherwise, it's a Grand Slam for Wales, really.
yeah, I'd rather no Grand Slam for anyone, please, unless it's England. And I just want to say an interesting stat for you. I think the one that I like most about Italian rugby is that we've never lost to Italy in rugby, and in comparison to our other Six Nations friends, I'm just looking through kind of all the results, and this is the year kind of 2000 since it started actually being Six Nations, and they've beaten France
really?
twice. They've beaten Scotland, of course, 7 times. They've beaten
Wow.
They've beaten Wales twice, and they've beaten Ireland once, and they've never beaten England.
Okay, well, I mean, Shakespeare, stop talking now, because we've got to beat them. If we lose to them now, I'm coming round to yours and I'm giving you a Greek slap across the face.
Oh dear.
But yeah, at the end of the day, looking at the Six Nations table, we've got Wales first. Oof, that feels bad to say it. 12 points. England second with 10 points. Ireland third with 9 points. France fourth, 6 points. Scotland 5 points, and then Italy 0 points. It's more or less what I expected before the tournament begun, but I expected Ireland and Wales to be in the opposite position, so for it to go Ireland, England, Wales. But yeah, let's see what it goes like moving forward. Any final thoughts from you?
Yeah. We need to make sure that Wales really, really struggle against Ireland, and I really hope that we can prevent the Grand Slam. If there's anything we can think of, James, let's discuss in the upcoming weeks. See if we can get into the canteen at Cardiff or anything, and put some funny sausages in their food. So, oh god, just imagine getting caught doing that, smashed by Owen Powell or something, or Andy Powell, not Owen Powell.
Yeah, I can imagine you wouldn't end up in a good place if you tried to do something like that in Cardiff.
But yeah, it's exciting for the upcoming weeks. Sad that England haven't done well, and yeah, that's all for now. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the episode.
Yeah, and from everyone here at English Rugby Fan, swing
Oh,
low.
also, Genghis Khan is on a hiatus at the moment. If any of you guys have noticed, he's kind of dropped out. We're working on some arrangements to address this. So until next time.
Yeah, I mean, Genghis has taken it really to heart, the whole loss against Wales, I think, and he's gallivanting about on the plane. So Genghis, if you're listening to this, get your ass back here.
Yeah, come on, man. We need you.
England needs you.
Pod, pod, pod. Bye.